Alright, so in this video we're going to analyze some of the important folders and files in the Rails project. So here's a MySQL project that I created in the previous video. The most important of the folders that you should study are the apps folder, the config, and the DB. So those are the three folders that are most important. Gem file is very important as well. So gem files, we're going to have another video that goes more in depth about the gem and what it means. But gems are basically different libraries or codes that other people wrote that we can leverage or use in our Rails application. So Sass Rails, Coffee Rails, there are some gems that you can use to do a lot of cool things. For the purpose of our training, we're not going to rely on gems too much because we don't want you to use other people's code. We want you to build your own, and so that you can learn the fundamentals. But later, once you feel more comfortable with Rails and you got the fundamentals, then we're okay if you use gems of other people to build some of your application. There are things you can do. For example, every web page needs certain features like authentication, and there are gems that you can use that would basically take care of all the authentication, database, login, registration, forgot password, confirmation, all of that. There are gems that you can use that does that, and it would take you like 5 minutes to set it up. But again, you don't learn really much by using other people's code. So one key thing to take out from the gems is, again, it's just a library that other people have built that you can just build and include in your Rails application. And again, in a separate video, we'll talk a little bit more about different gems that are available. Okay, so the app folder, you can see that it has controllers, models, and views, and it has something called assets. This is where you can put some of these files. Okay, controllers, this is where all the different controllers go. Models go here, view files go over here. You will learn that in Rails, instead of creating a new file in the controllers or creating a new file in the models and the views, there are certain way that Rails application works, and a lot of things are done all using command prompt. So there, if I want to create a new controller, I do it using command prompt. If I want to create a new model, I do it using command prompt. If I want to create a new view, well, those are usually set up when you create a controller. It automatically creates different views based on different methods you have in the controller, and so forth. Okay, so again, a lot of things are done using command prompt. It may take you a little bit more time to get used to the command prompt, but once you get used to it, it would make things a lot faster for you. Okay, alright, so app folder, this is where your controller, models, and view files are displayed. There are things called helpers, don't worry too much about that. Config folder, so this is where the most important thing are the database. So this is where you put in your database setting, and the routes. This is basically the routing file that routes your URL. And there are some cool things that you will see. We'll have a separate video that talks about the routing that's done along with the RESTful architecture, but don't worry about that for now. And DB, this is whenever you make changes to the database, it actually creates a SQL file that keeps track of that database changes. It's really powerful, and the benefit is you can, when you roll back your Ruby on Rails codes to previous version, you can also keep track of all the SQL, all the database changes as well, and change your database along the way. And again, any changes to the database, you do it also using command prompt. So you have to get very familiar with command prompt, and we'll have different videos that explain how you can create views, well, controllers, models, and how you can create changes in the DB, in the database, and those are basically called migrations. Okay, but again, those are the important folders that you should know. Test folder, that's where the default it has a test framework that you can use. People don't really use this test. I've seen some people that really like this, but most people like to use another gem called RSpec, which is a very, very, very powerful test framework to test a lot of cool things. So yeah, but for now, we'll just you can just ignore this test folder. Other folders you can ignore. Again, the most important folders are app, config, and db folder, and the gem file. Whenever you make a change in a gem, you will also you will have to compile your code, your project, so that your new Rails application includes some of the libraries that you told it to include. Okay? Alright, so that's the gist of how Rails folders structures work.